Welcome everyone. We're so excited for today's webinar, the strategy behind Texas A&M's photography and social media. We are so excited to have Nick and Sam here today. We got a little preview of their session and it is going to be a fantastic conversation, and we're so glad that all of you all are here as well. To give you a little bit of background about us, PhotoShelter helps creative teams unlock the power of their visual media easily, instantly, and without compromises, both through our digital asset management platform and through educational resources like these webinars. And through our upcoming summit, 2021 Vision is coming up on November 19th, and we're gonna have a full day creative summit. We just launched our registration page, so we'd love for you guys to go over and check it out and sign up to join us on the 19th. Here is the link for that. We also just announced a couple of keynote speakers. So Melanie Dunay, who's an amazing PhotoShelter photographer, is going to be hosting a keynote session with some really special guests from the Field Foundation, ESPN E60, and Top Chef. Gail Simmons, the judge from Top Chef, is going to be joining us for that conversation, which is going to be really fun. But we're also going to have a ton of creative people just like these two who are going to be sharing their strategies for 2020-21. Oh my gosh, 2021. So way too many 20s in all these names. So we are really excited for the 19th, and we hope you all will join us for that as well. We want you to be a part of the conversation on Slack today. This is our evergreen Slack community. You can go in there anytime you want and chat with other creative people. But this is also where we're going to be running the Q&A today. So go ahead and join the Slack community. Go to live chat and drop your questions in there. And of course, we'll also be following the questions box during the Q&A at the end as well. And with that, I want to go ahead and introduce our two guests, Sam Kraft and Nick Wilson. And between these two, you guys are going to get an incredible show packed with amazing imagery from Texas A&M, as well as some really cool insights about how they power their visual storytelling and social media strategy. So Nick and Sam, I'll hand it off to you. Thank you so much for being here. We're really excited about this conversation.
Nick, you want to go first?
Yeah. Everybody see it? Everybody, you look good?
Yeah, you're looking good. All good.
Cool. Let's go. So howdy. That is the official greeting of Texas A&M, so you have to start off with a howdy.
Howdy.
My name is Nick Wilson. I manage social media for Texas A&M. I've been in this role for about 5 years, and that's all of Texas A&M's institutional accounts. So anywhere you see @TAMU, that's something that I worked on or my team worked on to help produce. And this is Sam Kraft.
Howdy, the favorite greeting of all Aggies. So I've been with A&M for about 5 years, 4 with a different college and then a year with Marcom. But I've been here in town, College Station, for about 5 years now. Like I said, 6 years almost. I was a photojournalist for newspapers before that. And so coming to academia was a big change and a lot of fun.
Yeah, so a lot of fun. Let's have some fun. Today we're going to be talking about, kind of like they mentioned, the strategy behind Texas A&M's photography and social media. So I'll talk a little bit about the social media side. Sam will give you all the information you need for the photography side. Just basically talking about why visuals are important for social media. I believe that good social media hinges on good visuals. You rarely see Texas A&M post something without a visual, because you need thumb stoppers. Now that's a word I'm going to say a lot today because I think it's funny, but also it's true. There's so much content people are scrolling through every day. You have to stop their thumbs on your content to help them see your message, try to see what your brand is trying to say in that day's conversation on social media. And the way you do that is through beautiful visuals that capture the eye and capture the imagination. Through these visuals, that's how you make that connection with your audience and your followers. I love this photo, Sam. This is one you took, I think, last fall.
Yeah, and we'll get into the metrics after this, but this is, Nick, I agree. This is one of my favorite ones, and he'll explain why here in a second. You know, you're going to see a lot of lines in photography today. I'm a really big person on lines and shapes, and that's kind of my style. So this one is just a frame up, and I love it for what happened on social after the fact than so much the actual photo.
So the story behind this is basically here in Central Texas, Central East kind of Texas, in College Station, we don't have many, like much of seasons, I guess. It's normally hot or a little less hot, but for some reason last fall there was beautiful fall foliage, and I said, Sam, we have to go capture this, right? Like with your eye and the beauty that's happening outside, we have to go capture this. He shot this and then we posted it on our Instagram. And this is a little bit of the conversation that happened. Kind of like Sam mentioned, we will be showing analytics with most of the pictures that we looked through today, but it got a good response. But I think, Sam, what you were hinting at, the thing you liked is that comment. This guy just got friend zoned by Texas A&M. That's a new level. Completely unintended. Sorry to this guy, but I mean, you have to love that engagement right there. That's so much fun.
I think that's one of the best things about that we'll get into today too, but like stuff like that, like the Temu brand accounts and Nick in general, they're so awesome about engaging with the people that, you know, that post stuff like that, and then, you know, people tagging each other as they go along, like that kind of stuff, man, that just really makes everything go through the roof. It's a lot of fun to see it just get shared and whatever else.
Yeah, and so this resonated with some people. It got 6,500 likes, quite a few comments, because we did kind of ask for that engagement, and it worked out for us. So we're talking about how good visuals really make social media good. This is one, Sam, that you shot that I love, and I like it because this photo really puts Texas A&M on a grand scale in people's minds. You can use this photo for any number of things. We used it personally for our ranking. But this photo would work in a multitude of different ways on social media because it is just kind of a grand overview of a place that Aggies, our students, and our alumni hold dear to their heart. And they look at this and they have memories and they remember the time they were on campus or anything like that.
Yeah, Nick's 100% right. One of the greatest things about Aggieland, as you will see, is the tradition. And like campus is campus. It is the tradition here. It's the biggest one we have here. And with that said, it's also ever changing. So we try to shoot aerials. I think usually like this, I've only been here a year, so I mean on main campus anyway. So we try to shoot them like once a year because literally these buildings come up and go down within a year. We're always expanding. So it's neat for the outside world to see views like this of campus that we don't normally get to. And this is one of, 150 images I shot that day in the helicopter. But for me, it's really neat for people to see what is new and what campus looks like now, especially Kyle Field has gone 3 renovations in the last, 5 or 6 years, 10 years maybe. It's been a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, this is kind of different than a lot of the photos we'll be talking about today, but it is just a tribute to the variety of visuals that you and your team provide that we can, I guess, harness on social media. And so some analytics with that one. We shared it, like I said, with a ranking, because kind of what else will you share with a ranking, I think, unless it's a graphic that says top 10 or something like that. But even that, I think can get old on social media. So maybe just a photo, a simple photo can work with that. 18,000 likes on Instagram, about 100,000 reach, and then almost 100 retweets on Twitter, which I'll take any day of the week. This next photo, this one's so powerful, Sam. Go ahead and talk about that.
So as a lot of photographers know, if you've had a photo background, you've had to go out and find the dreaded like wild art or feature art for the day. I was actually at a news conference for a building opening, and it was kind of one of those days where, Nick always loves just random content, and as all do creators and designers and social media people. But it's usually my goal, honestly, if I'm on campus, like I want to get something to Nick, especially that's timely, that makes sense to go out, because minus the social posts that go out, he wants random stuff. So I was on the 3rd floor of a building. It was raining outside. I was like, hey, I can make a cool umbrella shot here. I made a couple. This one finally walked by towards the end, and it just happened to be the perfect frame with the logo and just kind of the solidarity. It was a rainy day, and it was wet, and nobody was out and around. It just really worked really well, and I'm glad Nick got his hands on it as fast as I could get it to him, and it worked out really well.
Yeah, I think Sam just said my favorite thing in that he just kind of shot this and thought about it and threw it to me and left me to kind of scramble and figure out the other social media creative side of it, because I love that challenge. And I think that this photo just nailed it, because imagine you're on a college campus and it's pouring outside. In my case, I need a post for social media. I need a post for Instagram that day. And what am I going to use? It's disgusting outside. It's raining. people aren't having a good time. But I think this photo captures that that position that so many people have been in through their life, where you can look at this person and put yourself in their shoes. You know exactly what they're going through, and plus it does have that beautiful Texas A&M branding on it. This photo has been brought up to me many times through, I guess, the year since he shot it, and I think it's because it does convey that feeling that's so hard to put into words. And that's why visuals are so important on social media, is I can say things all day. I can say it's raining outside. That's not going to engage people on social media. If I post this, that can. And so you go ahead and look at the analytics. I would not have assumed that I would have gotten 14,000 likes on one of our posts on a rainy day. But with a photo like this, with a visual like this, you can. What are you going to say, Sam?
I hadn't seen those numbers. That's wild. I hadn't seen them.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So more than, I mean, it's right in the middle of the two graphics or the two visuals we've shared so far in this presentation. About 120,000 people reached, 450 comments. Like, that really resonates with people, I think. So that was, Sam, I think, you working in a difficult situation to produce a great piece of content. This is maybe the other side of that, and it's something unique at Texas A&M that you took advantage of to get us a great visual. You want to tell the little known tradition behind this?
Yeah, so Nick is definitely more the traditions guy, but I know a little bit about these guys. A&M was traditionally a military university. That's how we were started. Today, that exists with the Corps of Cadets, and there's a tradition that every morning and every evening they go out to the Academic Plaza and they put the flag up and they come out and take the flag down. I just happened, well, I didn't happen to be there. I was there at sunset for that exact reason. It was a pretty day. We didn't have any images that I'd seen in a while of this, so I just went out to shoot a few images of this process. And it's the time that we live in right now. It's patriotic. There's mass going on. There's a lot that speaks to the time that we live in right now that people can, they can see it, they can relate to it, that kind of thing. And you'll see some more visuals on the next slide of this event. I'm glad Nick added in there, so you kind of get a feel of what more it goes on here. But this is one of my favorite images too, Nick. I really love this image.
Yeah, and it's kind of the same thing we talked about in the last photo that we shared. This is a situation where you just went out and shot a photo and you said, maybe this will work for social, and you sent it to me. That's like a gift to me. That is all a social media manager could ever want, is unexpected content just falling in your lap, especially when it looks like this. So again, this one resonated with people because I think through the images, it does tell a story. So basically, yeah, these cadets in the Corps, they put up the flag and take the flag down every morning and evening. And I think even on our campus, most people probably don't know that that is a tradition that happens. So shedding a little bit of light on that on social media was great for our accounts. So the next part of our strategy that I think we want to talk about is how we work together. I think that content works best on social media whenever our teams work together. It's not like social media is one team and Sam and his team are a separate team. Collaboration is necessary for both of us to thrive and succeed. And I say that because a lot of the times I think I might give Sam a shot list. He might go out and get a photo or get some photos, and maybe he doesn't get the one that I had in mind, or maybe he doesn't get exactly what I asked for. And in that moment, I could be upset. And in the same vein, Sam might shoot a beautiful photo and send it to me, and I don't post it on social media, and he could be upset. But I think Sam and I have this understanding that we have each other's best interests in mind and the university's best interest in mind. And there might be something happening on social media that day where if I posted that beautiful photo he shot, it might be inflammatory or might be received wrong. And in the same instance, if I ask Sam for a photo and he goes out and doesn't get that photo, there might be something happening on that shoot or at that event that I could never have imagined, and there's a reason why he didn't get it. And I think it's that trust that makes us successful. This is a photo, I think it really captures Texas A&M, Sam. I think you did a great job on this one.
I wish I got more of the 12th flag in there, but just one of those things. I was at the top of the concourse and it just happened all of a sudden. There it was. And it's one of those things that just happens in a brief second and it's over. Somebody moves their leg or whatever else. So the wider crop on the bottom shows more of the boot, but that's what it is. And Nick has a very good point. You have to trust your coworkers and know that they're doing things for a reason, one way or the other. and communication is key. You know, if I have something for Nick, I'll call and tell him like, hey Nick, here's this, and Nick's really good about, hey, can't go up right now because this is happening. I'm like, hey, understand, man, cool. I just want to let you know it's there, and if you run it, you run it. If not, it goes on brands and it goes in the repository.
Yeah, to say that Sam and I text and Slack and call each other constantly might be an understatement, because I feel like we're always communicating about these things.
Yes.
This photo blows me away, honestly.
So this is COVID football, man. This is what it is. And you know, we with COVID, I think we'll talk a little bit about that more going through this, but this is what football looks like in COVID. This is before, full disclosure, this is before the game. So there are a few more people in the stands as the game started, but this really summed it up for me. This is the alumni side. So it did not get a lot more full than what you see here. This is, it's just weird to see Kyle Field that holds 100,000 people. It's the biggest football stadium in the state of Texas, pro or college. So it's crazy to see it with, you know, just a fraction of people in it.
Yeah, I love this. I think if you look at this, it's really a point in time sort of photo. You'll be able to look back in this and remember it and know why it was shot like that. Kind of in the same vein, I think you did these.
Yeah, same thing. You know, it was the first day of school, and well, class was back in session for the first time, and I wanted to kind of show what campus looked like. There's this one and a few more that you'll see that kind of go along with what I'm saying here. You know, all these kids, we want to show that campus is still open to our students, and that we're, you know, we're doing the best we can to make everything safe. And, you know, for the most part, people are following the rules. And, you know, we just wanted to show off the nice spaces we have to let kids study and just be on campus and have the experience of being at college again.
Yeah, and again, you had to work through some difficult situations to shoot these, because
yes,
this isn't the normal photo you would shoot, and it's not the normal thing we would post, but the communication we had, I think, was key to getting these moments and being able to put students or people in these students' shoes to see what it's like to be a college student this year. It's so bizarre. And so we were able to post that on social media, and it got about 15,000 likes, 130,000 people reached, which again, I would not have imagined with the, I guess, difficulties happening on campus through social physical distancing and wearing masks and all the pandemic stuff, that we would be able to produce these kinds of numbers with a photo. I
just want a better photo. I didn't really like that one. I mean, I turned it in. I liked it, but you know.
I love how the clock tower is lined up in those lines. That
was part of it.
So also, I guess another strategy is being a perfectionist and
framing. It's all about framing,
man. Another piece of our strategy is kind of unique to universities, and especially unique to Texas A&M. And we'll talk about this through the presentation, but Texas A&M has some very unique, you might say weird, traditions, but whether you call them unique or weird, they are Texas A&M's, and we are proud of them, and we have to highlight them through visuals, because usually words can't describe what's happening. The other challenge is that with a tradition, it happens every semester or it happens every year. And how do we cover these same exact things happening on social media in different ways each year? And I think that is especially through visuals, and it's us having to be creative. So this is a yell leader. I'll explain a little bit about the tradition, and Sam, you can go into everything that went into this shoot and how you nailed this, I think. But yell leaders, really quickly, Texas A&M University does not have cheerleaders. We have yell leaders. They are elected by the student body to basically lead yells, not cheers, at our football games and basketball games and other sporting events. They are, like I said, elected by students, by their student body. And fun fact, in these yell leader student body elections, there are more votes placed in those than for the student body president. So these really are kind of figures on campus. They really are student leaders. And so it's important for us to tell this story through visuals, especially on social media.
So this was from the official yell leader portrait session, which is just reserved for social media folks. Once they've had their turn with them, it gets passed around to some of the marketing materials, and then also the yell leaders have access to it for their social media. So it gets a lot of dual purpose. This was done with just a big 5-foot octa. It was like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We shot. I think there's 5 of them, Nick. Is that right?
There are 5 of them, yes.
Yeah, so we did all 5 this way, and then we did a couple other portraits, poses, whatever. This was the one that turned out the best, I think, as far as the look goes. It was a really fun shoot, and it just those guys. Nick said, talking about the tradition behind the yell leaders. It's such an honor to be a yell leader, and those guys they're so humble and just willing to do anything you want them to as far as photos goes, and just being around campus and talking to people. They're always approachable. They're great guys.
And I think your extra thought that you gave to this shooting them all with masks on and without masks, did wonders for us, because not only can we look back at 2020 and see how they were different and see how that was unique in a weird time, but also it helped us convey that message on social, reminding people to wear masks from these student leaders. So I think you nailed this one across the board.
I appreciate it. It was a fun shoot.
It's always a fun shoot with the yell leaders. This one, Sam, again, I keep saying blows me away, but this blows me away. This is
one of my favorites.
Yeah, this is of our mariachi group, or some details. Texas A&M has a mariachi music group. Mariachi is a Mexican style of music, and being 25% Hispanic population at Texas A&M, we do have a lot of Hispanic and Mexican students, and so this really resonated with our audience in a unique way that is unique to Texas and unique to Texas A&M.
So mariachi, exactly what Nick said. I didn't know they existed until my cohort, Mark, the video person here that does a lot of our video stuff, he was actually part of the group, and he was doing a story about Hispanic Heritage Month with the group, and he was like, "Hey, you want to tag along for photos?" I was like, "Well, yeah, man, let's go." Like, I'd never shot a mariachi band before. And I love it, dude. It's awesome. Like, and it resonates with me because, again, like, you see this A&M logo. I have never seen the A&M logo in this form. And I'm sure our graphics person hates me for saying that because it looks awesome and they didn't do it, but I love it. And no, I love seeing it, and I love shooting the details. This whole shoot was a lot of fun. This is the best one to me that came out of it, just because of the details. Again, you instantly look at it and you can see the tie, the uniform, and it kind of gives you a feel instantly off the charts of what it is. And I think it's a great lead image for like an Instagram post to follow with some of the wider stuff. It's a great image overall for me, and it was a really fun shoot. I think social got a good run at it.
It's so fun. I think this photo is so fun. This one, so a quick traditions backstory. The 12th man is a huge tradition at Texas A&M, and in my opinion, one of the best college sports traditions in the country. The 12th man basically is just a symbol of our student body, who our students, we usually get 25 to 30,000 at a football game. They stand the entire time as a metaphor for standing ready for their football team. They stand and they yell and they try to influence the game as much as they can from the stands. And then along with those students, they have a symbol on the field. They have the 12th man, which is a walk-on football player who wears the number 12 and represents all of the students at Texas A&M, all the students in the stands, and all of the Aggies in the stands of that football game. So again, Sam, I think you perfectly encapsulated that tradition and everything that goes along with it in this beautiful photo.
Yeah, this was a part of our COVID PSA shoot that we had right before our big COVID marketing material went out to everyone. And, again, Nick explained the 12th man pretty well. This was, to me, this was the symbol of, we're still here. We're still at Kyle Field. The 12th man is still here. We're still behind everybody, but we have to do it a very different way this year. So it's just kind of like the solidarity of him standing with the flag. It's just, there's so many meanings behind this picture to me, and being in Kyle Field and seeing what it is and knowing what the 12th man is and how people react to him and what the tradition is. It's a really cool, it's a cool place. It's a cool thing to be.
Yeah. And then we have one more tradition that we wanted to highlight in this section, because we're just talking about how these unique traditions tell our brand story. And each brand has something unique like that they can share through visuals that are totally their brand and not anybody else's. The last one is Silver Taps. So this is a Ross volunteer, which is a special member of a special unit of the Corps of Cadets on campus. He's holding a rifle because he is going to do a 21 gun salute at Silver Taps, which happens every month to remember the students who passed away the previous month. So at a university with about 70,000 students, unfortunately, some students do pass away during the semester. And so the we have this special, very solemn, very somber sort of tribute to them each month, the first Tuesday of each month at Silver Taps. And so since it is very somber and solemn, I think this photo really matches that mood that we are trying to reach on social media.
Yeah, so in Silver Taps, to expand on that a little bit more, Silver Taps is not open to the media. It's a very well-known tradition that knows that if you come to Silver Taps, you put your phone down, there's no video, there's no photo, like it doesn't work like that. It's all about respecting the students that passed. And this was a special situation where they decided not to hold Silver Taps in person, so to speak, as far as a big full group because of COVID. So we actually had the chance to film it for a live stream, and we took advantage and did some photos and that stuff too. So it was really cool for me to be able to document this that I had never shot before, and I'd never even been to before. But it was neat to be able to show it to a social media audience, that something that, again, is not, you either have to be there in person or you never see it. So it was really neat to be able to get a chance to tell that story in a different way that nobody had seen before, or very few people had.
And I think this is also this photo and the ones that came along with it are a perfect example of something that would be very difficult to put into words. It would be hard to share that emotion through a social media post without this image. A third part of our strategy is putting people where they want to be, and I think that's especially true this year. You are trying to help people experience something on social media. You want them to feel part of a community, and then you want to put them where they want to be, which for us, a lot of times is on campus, because a lot of our students aren't able to be on campus this semester. Even if they are, they aren't able to be part of the activities they anticipated being part of, or they want to be part of. So through the next few visuals, we'll kind of show how Sam has been capturing these beautiful photos for us to help our audience be and experience what they want to during their college experience.
Yeah, and the picture you just saw in the auditorium, that's a really well-known auditorium here on campus. So it's also like one of the best looking ones, I think. It's an older one. It's in the chemistry building. It's a great place to shoot images. It also really resonates with a lot of students. Again, it's seen a lot, but it's really cool to be in there and just know that that's what that room is. Nick, what's our next image?
I mean, I'm an Aggie. I graduated in 2015, and I remember having multiple classes in this room. So that does kind of hit home for me even.
Yeah.
So I think
this is what campus looks like now. You know, you would see 4 or 5 people clamored up everywhere. Again, this was just the first day of school or soon thereafter, just out shooting wild art, so to speak, for Nick, and just our general repository purposes. A lot of these seats, you can't see them. I wish we'd have put one in there. That's on me. They have stickers that say, you know, please pass it back, don't sit here, that kind of stuff. This is also, again, what campus looks like now. This is what students would normally be doing, but they're in mass now and we're all spread out. So I've been trying to document COVID just as I normally would, but you know, obviously it's not normal. So I'm just trying to create it the best way that I can and show our students are still here, we're still doing business, and you know, it's still trying to get along.
Yeah, and it's our responsibility as Texas A&M on social media to convey that same message. Hey, Texas A&M is still here. Aggies are still doing what they always do. Things just look a little bit different. And for those Aggies who are experiencing that, it's kind of a show of solidarity that they're not in this alone. And then I said it earlier, you got to capture thumb-stopping visuals. There are billions of posts across Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and all of the social media platforms each day. How do you make yours stand out? It's through visuals. That's the piece of content that is going to get people to stop and look at what you have to say. Sam, do you want to talk a little bit about this one?
Yeah, so at the end of every football season, like the last home game of the season, the Corps of Cadets comes out and they form the Block T. And the Block T has been around for a very, very long time. Again, Nick is more my traditions guy than I am. Him being an Aggie, he knows it way better than I do. But it's a big deal to capture. Like this is the image you have to make at the end of the year. I shot this with the tilt shift lens for something different, just to make it more fun and just hopefully get somebody to stop, just get that thumb stop one time. And that's all you need. That's all you got to do. Probably they hit the like button, but as long as they stop and interact with it, man, that's what I'm looking for myself. So I tried to take something that was, you know, every day, we see this every year, and try to make something different out of it. I'd love to shoot it from a helicopter this year. I guess the band's on the field this year, so maybe next year, who knows?
Yeah, so we'll look at a few case studies of how we highlight what makes our brand different and what goes into creating thumb-stopping visuals. This one, kind of like Sam said, timing is everything. Nobody wants to see the halftime show the next day or the next week. They want to see it when it's happening. And I love a good tilt shift every now and then. So I think it did stand out on our social media. Here's our Instagram post about it, about 11,000 likes. So if we can make 11,000 people like our marching band while a big time football game is going on, I have to appreciate your work there. So let's talk a little bit about Midnight Yell. So we mentioned the Yell Leaders earlier. Midnight Yell is a tradition that involves them. Every Friday night before a football game, usually in a normal year, 20,000, 25, 30,000 students and fans pack into Kyle Field and have a midnight yell at midnight, where they tell stories, they practice our yells, and basically just get pumped up for the game the next day and get prepared to do their job as the 12th man. So it's completely led by the Yell Leaders, the 5 student leaders. And again, this is kind of content that we have exclusive access to show the behind the scenes, to show what's going on in this tradition. And again, everything that I just said about Midnight Yell sounds a little crazy, that we get 30,000 people in a football stadium at midnight. So it's hard to tell that story without these visuals that we're going to show you.
So do yourself a favor and please go look at Midnight Yell on YouTube to see like an actual Midnight Yell, because they are a lot of fun.
Pretty bonkers. In a normal year, y'all should come to Texas A&M, experience the Midnight Yell, and either fall in love with it or be really weirded out. Either way, I'll take it.
We'll take it. So Midnight Yell this year, obviously, again, like everything else, is really different. This angle that you see here, this is normal. The back side, that's the, I guess that'd be the west side, the alumni side of Kyle Field, which is not filled up during Midnight Yell. So this was just a nice image down from low, trying to show the Yell Leaders social distancing with the mask on, without, I guess the guy that's talking doesn't have one, but he's okay to do so. Midnight Yell is really, really weird this year, man. Again, it's hard to tell. This is, from a social aspect, Nick was live streaming the event. I was the only photographer allowed on the field, so I was the only one capturing actual stills of the event. So getting to tell that story and being tasked with telling that story in a whole new way is super weird, because I've shot many, many Midnight Yells, and this is obviously the weirdest one I've ever been to. So I really tried to convey what was there and who was there. Members of the band were allowed in. They're considered a family unit because they all live in the same dorm, in the same halls, and they're all around each other all the time. So they were the only group that was allowed in besides the Yell Leaders themselves. So I did want to show some of them trying to be normal, trying to have a normal experience with Midnight Yell. Covered a lot of angles, tried to tell the story from as many places as I could. Again, it's all about creating content for the people online that can't come to Midnight Yell, because again, that's 20, 30,000 people that can't get in. So they're fully depending on our social channels to push out this content so they can see it. That's all we had.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, to kind of tell that story that nobody else could experience that night. And again, timing is everything with this. People don't want to see Midnight Yell content the next morning because they've moved on to game day. They care about the football game. So we have to share Midnight Yell. You can see that one was posted at 1:48 a.m. They're normally posted within the next couple of hours of the event happening. And that's a late night for us, but it's worth it because this is really good content that nobody else has. And I think you did really capture the same sort of enthusiasm, the same spirit of the tradition that we normally have, even though it was definitely different this year.
Yeah, no, so if you look at the bottom picture there, the big wide one that shows the entire side of the stadium, the bottom right next to the post, those 3 decks are usually full of people at Midnight Yell. Like, it's usually packed.
Yeah. So I think those photos on the grand scale are really good to show the difference. But the other ones show that spirit that the Yell Leaders still have and the fans still have, and it's still a beloved tradition, even if not everyone can take part in it this year. Speaking of beloved traditions, Texas A&M muster is maybe, it's my favorite tradition. It's definitely the most important at Texas A&M, if I can say that. Basically, muster is a gathering each year of Aggies to remember all of the Aggies, current students or alumni who passed away in the previous year. So that means that in Reed Arena, in our basketball arena, there is a ceremony, and then there are ceremonies all across the world where people read off the names of Aggies who have passed away in the previous year. And it's sort of like a roll call, But whenever you read that name, obviously that person isn't going to answer here for their position in that roll call. So all of their loved ones, all of their relatives and friends answer here for them. So imagine you're in this basketball stadium and they're reading off the list of names of people who passed away in the previous year. And each time a name is read, people say here all around the stadium if they knew that person, if they were friends with that person, if they were a loved one. And so that is really something that is difficult to convey in words. And I think visuals are completely necessary because of how emotional and how somber this tradition is. And so that's a challenge for you, Sam, to try to shoot it, and especially shoot it this year.
Yeah, this year was the hardest year to do it by far. You know, normally read what you see here is packed full of people, and you know, there's everyone's holding a candle, and you can see faces and emotions, and it's so much. I hate to say it, it's so much easier to cover because there's just more visuals to capture. Whereas this year it was an entirely empty arena besides a film crew from KMU, our TV station, and then me and the other visual media folks, and just the staff that were there reading names. It was really hard to make different images, more than just one or two things. But again, it's one of those things that if we hadn't done it, nobody else would have, or we would have found other ways to do it, I guess. But mustard's such a big thing. I keep saying that, but these traditions here are huge, and people depend on seeing this content. And social media has really given us, what's the word? Just the channel to do so, just the audience. I mean, just for them to see everything that is still happening and how we are still trying to carry on these traditions that everyone is used to seeing. I mean, there's a photo of Mustard. Mustard is a worldwide event. It's not just in College Station. The Aggies do it all over the world. There's a picture from one of the World Wars where it's a group of soldiers that have gotten together, and they're holding Mustard together, and they're calling out names, and it's such a big deal. So when you see these images here, these images are still so special to all these family members that lost a loved one, but just the Aggie family, it's still important to them because we all say here when a name's called.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right that this happens every year on April 21st, and that story and that connection is still expected, even if we are live streaming it and people aren't physically there. They still expect to see those candles lit for their loved ones. They still expect to see some semblance of saying here for those people who we've lost. And so you definitely see that through our social media posts, that people expect this content, they want this content, and they really, it's really important to them that we share the same message each year, covering the event. And visuals are so critical to that. That's such a big part of what the event is, letting people experience something that they didn't get to this year, especially, but in normal years that they hold so dear and they do get to experience. And so our last case study is our funnest one, our most fun. Miss Reveille is Texas A&M. Miss Rev is Texas A&M's mascot. So she is a collie. She is the highest ranking member of the Corps of Cadets. The way the story goes is that some cadets way back in the day, I don't know the exact year, century ago, if any Aggies are watching this, they'll probably know, some cadets were driving down the road. They, I believe, hit a dog in their truck. They checked on her. She was still alive, so they took her back to campus. They snuck her in their dorm to rehabilitate her and take care of her. The next morning, when the cadets were woken up by Reveille being played on the trumpets, the dog started barking, and that's where she got her name, Reveille. And ever since then, we've had Reveilles who still live on campus. They're taken care of by current students, sophomores, and that dog attends class with them. Everywhere her handler goes, she goes with them. If she barks in a class, that class has to be let out. If she jumps up on her handler's bed, the handler has to find somewhere else to sleep because that's her bed now. Like I said, she's the highest ranking member of the Corps of Cadets, and she's beloved on campus, and anywhere she goes, you'll see people flocking behind her to take pictures with her because she's just such a good dog. And so good that she was the first live mascot verified on Twitter. And so good that even Twitter tweeted about her, saying that we're living in Reveille's world. It's Reveille's world, we're just tweeting in it. So that was a really fun day whenever they tweeted at Reveille as Twitter. But that's an account that we get to run, and we have that exclusive access and exclusive content to one of our most beloved traditions. And that's a story that we have to tell, because not only does it bring joy to people, it's just such a fun part of social media that you really couldn't share any other way but these photos and some videos of her through her social media account.
Shoots with Miss Rev are always really fun, and it's so funny because I think the last one we had was last week, and you could tell she got there early and she was excited and she's ready to go, and then halfway through she's like, I'm just done with this. I'm just ready to go home and have a nap. And it's just funny, for all that she is here, she's the biggest celebrity we have, and sometimes it's just fun to see her at these shoots behind the scenes and just see her be a dog, like just see her be a dog. She'll come up to you, she wants some scratches, like it's so awesome. And like this one here. This was done just on a offhand. We were doing a studio, like a book shoot or something, and she put her head down. And I was like, this is just a great off take. And I'm glad Nick picked this picture because I love this one. It's not something we normally use, I think, in other places, because it's not the peppy one, or it's not the Christmas bows, or I love it. Like, this is my favorite Revly picture ever, I think, that I've taken. I love seeing it. And I told them yesterday, this is social media gold. Revly, anything Revly touches on social media, people eat up. I mean, she's Miss Rev, she's a dog. You can't get any better.
Yeah, I think this really resonates with 2022. So she also runs out of football games. You got to go in her dorm.
Yes.
And got that exclusive content. So
Nick kind of mentioned about the bed situation, and this is a real thing. I mean, if Revly jumps up in the handler's bed, that bed is no longer his for the evening. It is Miss Rev's. And it's all in good fun. I say in good fun. It's a real thing, and it really happens, and it's kind of an honor. Like, it really is. If Miss Rev wants your bed, you give it to her. It's what it is. But this is her dorm room. We had a chance to go in. We were doing some filming, and it was really neat to get to be able to show, like, the not so seen part of Revly's world, which is their dorm room. A lot of people don't have access to that. If you're not in the core, you don't get to. So it's really neat to see the behind the scenes with Revly, because so many people just see her walking around campus and it's like, oh, let's get a photo. Well, they don't know she's just awesome. She's Rev. And I don't know what to say about it. Oh, it's my favorite. Okay, this is my favorite picture of Rev. I'm wrong. This is my favorite one. So again, this was for a COVID PSA, and it's one of those moments that, as a photographer, you just kind of know, you kind of see when things are going to happen, and you just kind of wait. I tell people I spend like 80% of my time waiting for things to happen, and they happen for a split second. This did happen a couple times, but still, the moment that this specific one, this is the only one that looked this good. And it's just a really nice moment between her handler and Revly. And these handlers, these kids, they're with her 24 hours a day, every day for a year. And the bond is so tight. Even though they rotate once a year, they still resonate. And it's just great to see moments like this with them.
Yeah, and I think this really, sums up everything we've been talking about. It's fun, which is so unique to social media and photography, that if you're not having fun with this, then something's wrong. And it tells this message of wear a mask in a way that only Texas A&M can. People, if I just tweet, everybody wear a mask, be safe, that's not gonna have the same effect as if their favorite person on campus, Miss Rev, person, I guess, tells them to wear a mask, right? And it's just so unique and so much fun, and that's exactly what we're trying to do with these visuals. That does bring us to the end of our presentation, so I guess it's question time.
Amazing. You guys, that was so cool. We have a lot of people who are already saying thank you. You really knocked it out of the park, and it's very fun to see your enthusiasm, especially at the end there about Miss Rev. I know, Nick, you went to A&M, so you've been drinking the Kool-Aid for a long time, but it's very cool to see both of you, talk about how passionate you are about your work. So thank you so much for putting that together. It was awesome. We do have a bunch of questions. Yoav, I'll hand it off to you for our first question.
Yeah, first off, thank you so much. That's great. I loved it. It was great. And we're getting a lot of thank yous in the chat and the questions.
And someone said your presentation made their day.
What? Our presentation made their day?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's right.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
That's what, yeah, that's the best compliment.
We get the like. That's what we like.
I'll pass the credit on to Miss Rev, because let's be real, that's what did it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no,
obviously, everyone needs to go follow her. Go ahead, Yoav. You want to ask the first question?
Definitely skim through Miss Rev's Twitter feed after you posted it in the Slack channel, Kristen. So we have a bunch of questions. Okay, so here's where we're going to start with one. Can you talk about a little bit about how your office or maybe even like kind of departmental setup is. This person said, it doesn't sound like, Sam, that you work directly for social, and kind of the relationship between your offices, and if you know anything about how they're funded, things like that. That's
Sure.
one of the questions.
So we are part of TAMU Marketing and Communications Division. It's a division. We have a news side and a marketing side, and me and Nick both live on the marketing side. But then we are broken down into teams. So I am part of a visual media team, and Nick is part of a social media team, and our bosses work together to create what we do for a living. As far as funding goes, I can't really speak to that. As far as I know, we're just normal funding. Like I don't know how we're funded, to be honest with you. State funds? I don't know.
I think I think it's a little tricky.
It's my pay grade. I'm just glad I get a paycheck.
Yeah, so Sam is one of the content pools that I can pull from. We have graphic designers, we have videographers, and we have photography. Obviously, photography is a huge piece of what makes social media successful. And so we try to work as closely as we can with Sam being our main photographer, just in constant communication. I personally try to tear those walls down in between our teams and try to work as fluid as we can. But yeah, we are on separate teams. Long story short.
That was actually one of the other questions that came in, which was, how do you create, it seems like you guys have a really strong relationship and a really strong communication. So how do you build that kind of environment where you're working so well together?
I think it's communicating. Like I said, we're constantly on Slack. We're texting whenever there's an event or like a football game or something happening. On my side, I try to deliver Sam a photo list or a shot list before every event that he goes and shoots for us, so he kind of knows what I have in mind. We often talk about the thing he's going to go shoot. So like I email him like a PDF of this is what I'm thinking. Then we talk in person and say, hey, this is kind of what we're expecting. And then beyond that, for me, it's just trust that his eye is going to be good out there. He's going to get some good shots. And yeah, I think you just have to have that level of trust to expect that your photographer is going to do his best work for you and that you're going to represent those photos as good as you can, as well as you can on social media.
Yeah, no, Nick's right. It's the shot lists are great. They're directions, and that's why I say, even when I talk to Nick about shot lists, I'm like, hey, look, I'm going to get these. I'm going to do them in my style, but I know he trusts me to know that I'm going to get what he needs out of it. And same for me. I'm going to put my spin on it. But that's one thing that we really work really well with is communication. Again, I can't say it enough. Communication. He understands I'm going to get what he wants, and I'm going to get what I want out of it to fulfill my creative needs. And I think that's one thing that benefits me coming from journalism is that, I spent many days just wandering around looking for wild art to fill a front page with. And I think that helps Nick out hugely because I still have that creative need to go out and make those images, and it just falls right into Nick's platter that, hey, here's 10 images I went out and shot, use them whenever you want to.
Yeah, that is really helpful.
Can y'all still see my screen or the presentation?
We can.
Okay, so this photo that, like, for example, this is a real photo that Sam shot that someone just wrote howdy on a blackboard on campus.
Taylor Davis, one of our designers. Yeah, if she's watching.
That is
I
great.
can do that in a million different ways. That's just something he went out and shot during a photo shoot for something else. And so it's that trust and being able to believe that the other person is going to get you the content you need and you can use it.
And I love it because I never thought this would go anywhere. I never thought this photo would go anywhere. So I'm really glad Nick used it.
We have a ton of questions, so we're going to do kind of like rapid fire.
Let's do it.
What does your workflow look like? For example, when you're transferring photos in real time at something like Rebel Yell? Great question from Kara.
I will leave that one to you, Sam.
Okay, so typically at Midnight Yell, if we really need to push stuff in a hurry, Midnight Yell happens directly at midnight. I mean, everything goes off at midnight. We're wrapped up by 12:30, 12:45. Nick and Krista, his boss, are really good about letting me hey, do you need this right now, or can I take 15 minutes to get to the house and edit at home? And they're usually pretty good because people are still going to be looking. So for example, Midnight Yell is my best example. Is that if I really need it on time, I will take my laptop, I will shoot the event, I will sit down on the track, and I will edit directly right then, and try to get them my 3 or 4, 5 favorite images, so they can push those out, and the rest just go in the repository and they can pull them as needed. The rest of it is kind of day to day. I'll go out and I'll shoot some wild art or something, and I'll shoot Nick a text. I'm like, hey Nick, I got something for you, or I'll shoot an iPhone photo of hey, I got some really good stuff of this. Expect it later today. or things like that. Again, I just can't say enough communication.
Great. And I think kind of the next step of that workflow, Amarin asked, can you share a little bit about how you coordinate and implement the production of your posts through your team? So I guess, Nick, once those photos land in PhotoShelter, what's your process? What's your, process for getting it up?
Go through PhotoShelter, find the ones I like, download quite a few, airdrop them to my phone, try to use different ones across different platforms to tell the same story in a consistent voice and theme and tone, but trying to use as many of Sam's great photos as I can in different ways. And then it's basically just up to me and my team to decide which ones go where.
Just a quick side note to that. This is purely on me and not a shameless plug for y'all. Brands has changed my life and I love it. I've used PhotoShelter personally for like over, I don't know, 6 or 7 years now. We went to Brands in November and I cannot tell you how wonderful it's made our archiving and external. That's just me saying how awesome it is. Take nothing else away from that. Just my own opinion.
Amazing. We love hearing that. That's awesome. We are really proud to work with you guys and to be a part of, what you guys are doing is amazing. By the way, did we mention that A&M has like the most engaged
Sorry, no, I didn't.
social media following? What if I gotta plug you guys back because that is so cool. You guys are hearing from the real experts here.
I'm not great at bragging on myself. So Texas A&M's Instagram has the 4th most likes of any university, public or private, in the country this year. We have the highest engagement rate of any public or private besides Harvard University on Facebook and Twitter. So I think, again, I attribute that to our content and those visuals, and then I maybe put some silly little words or something with them to get some likes or retweets or whatever. But no, not really. Our team is fantastic. Our social media team is great. We have students who keep their ear to the ground to help us make Texas A&M's voice consistent across, but also something that resonates with different types of audiences. And I think the visuals, words change from post to post, platform to platform, but Sam's visuals, for example, the ones that we shared during this presentation, do hit home with a bunch of different audiences and hit them where they're at. So that is, again, why I think visuals are so important for social media.
Awesome.
Kind of like, sorry, in the old days, newspapers, when you saw one in a rack, you wouldn't buy it for a headline, you'd buy it for an image. I think social media is the same way. You'll stop on an image more than you'll read a text.
Yep, for sure. Yep. We actually, getting back to something Nick just said, had a question about the size of your team and what your team looks like. A couple questions about that. One, Sam, are you still shooting just stills or are you doing video as well? How large is your photo video staff? And then Tomas is wondering, how many people are on the team in general?
Sure. So the visual media team is made up of me, and I'm predominantly still, I do shoot some video. It's definitely not my forte. I do it, but it's not, it's my skill set as a photojournalist. That's what I've been forever. So I've been doing some videos here and there. We have a full-time video guy who also does some stills on the side, but his video stuff is great. It's super polished. That's what you see most of. And then our boss is the director. He's kind of like me. He dabbles a little bit in both. His background is photo, but he does video as well. So there's just 3 of us on the visual media team, and then Nick has a videographer, photographer on the social media team that they work with as well.
And then besides that person, it's me on our social media team, and then my boss, director of social media. So we are the ones who write posts and manage our 3 interns who are students, because I think having students on our team is such an important asset and such an important part, because they are living what we're trying to sell as a university, trying to get people into our school, get them educated, and get them jobs and help them love Texas A&M along the way. And so people who are currently going through that, there's no better resource than our interns. So 5 people who write and manage posts, and then 1 photo/video person on our social media team.
We do have 2. We have 1 student intern. I'd feel awful if I left him out. And then we have we're hiring a few more. So if you're a student at A&M, we're hiring.
Yep. Awesome. A great question about COVID. So can you guys speak to the way you're managing COVID precautions in your roles? And are you working mostly from home and returning to campus for specific shoots? Are you on campus often? Tell us a little bit about that. What does that look like?
believe it or not, this is not my house. This is my office. The way our office works is everyone's been broken into 2 teams, team 1 or team 2. And so we kind of work 5 days on, 5 days off. So of course, I'll be on, like Sam can talk about his position, but I'll be on campus if there's something I have to do. Thankfully, social media is something I can kind of do from wherever, as long as I keep the lines of communication open and we're working as a team.
So since all this began, we've been really kind of hybrid. The team system went into effect, I guess, last month. But really, honestly, before that, I was on campus a lot. I mean, maybe 4 times a week, shooting, working. When we, at first we did a lot of Zoom videos, so we were at home, we were trying to figure out what was going on. And probably, I don't know, maybe like August, September, we kind of started rotating back around and really being in the office a lot more, being on campus. A&M, we have the benefit of they offer free COVID testing on campus for employees. So I get tested every other week or every 2 weeks, or whenever I feel the need that if I've been in a stadium with 30,000 people, I'll run down there and get a test. As far as that goes, we have protocols in place, social media especially, for our channels, we don't post anything that does not adhere to those principles. If we do, there's a reason behind it, and we say so. But even shoots are very, no more than 10 people, 6 feet apart, mask. So, when you see that stuff on our channels, it's usually that. And that's how we've been dealing with it, with PPE and just trying to follow all the guidelines that are out there and be safe. And if my philosophy has been, if I don't feel comfortable, I will say something, and we won't do it inside. We'll go outside or something along those lines. And as a photographer, videographer, creator, whoever you are, have the power to say no, or hey, I'm not comfortable, because a lot of times you get bullied into things and you shouldn't.
Yep.
Yeah, in practice and through our social media posts, COVID safety is our #1 priority and the #1 message we're trying to convey right now, because everything else is definitely secondary to our safety and student safety.
Awesome. Okay, really rapid fire. How far out is your content calendar planned, and when does Sam get involved in the process? Great question from you.
We try to plan as far out as possible. Obviously, that's kind of difficult, especially this semester, because who knows what next week has in store. But thankfully, events and traditions are always happening, and so we can bank on those and kind of plan around.
Great. And then a great follow-up. A great follow-up from Michael. Do you ever deal with any slow times of the year where fresh photos are difficult to create, and how do you deal with those times?
Yeah. So social media, the summer, when like the fall and spring semester aren't happening. Sam, you want to talk about how you can stay fresh in those moments?
Thankfully, we have like 70,000 kids, and some of them are still here in the summer. So it's just, going out and trying to create new things and new perspectives on pretty buildings or reflections. I mean, you really got to dig deep in your creative bucket, man. It's tough. It really is, but that's how we do it.
Yep.
I'll also say social media is best when you are experimenting and trying new things. So sometimes those things work, sometimes they don't, but that's fun and keeps people engaged and gives them a reason to follow.
Yep. Nick, single image posts or multiple images?
Ooh.
Depends. So like that mustard post with the here, there's nothing else I need to post to convey that same emotion, that message. Football games, I can probably post multiple pictures to kind of give people more of a game day feel or game day experience, because there's so much that goes into football. So I think it does depend. Don't use more than one if you don't have to.
Sam, have you made the move to mirrorless?
Yes, in March. I switched totally to Sony. We shoot Sony A9 IIs. And in my personal gear, I also shoot Sony too. I was a Canon shooter for 15 years and recently went to Sony.
Love it. How does the social media team handle and monitor all Aggie associated social media accounts like Miss Rev, Aggie Core, all that stuff?
Yeah, so
you see that office that's on fire? I feel like it's like that.
So in our office, we only manage institutional accounts and then also Miss Rev. So that's just where you see @Tamu or Miss Rev or the president's Facebook page. Beyond that, we try to keep up a good lines of communication with all of the other social media managers on campus, where we have monthly meetings, we have a Slack channel, we have a listserv where we're trying to stay up to date with each other and sharing resources, sharing best practices, and just making sure that if people have questions or they need help promoting something, that we're here for that.
Also the brand guy.
And how much is staged versus spontaneous in photos?
So I really like, I don't like stage photos. I mean, again, journalist background, I like in the moment kind of stuff. I think that's where you get the most genuine emotion. So even when we have stage shoots, I still look for just off-candid moments. Like those are the best.
Yep.
Everything
Awesome.
you see today has been not staged, besides the yell eater with the towel. Everything else has been in the moment.
Yep. And last question, how do you get your content to more niche content platforms like a GIF on Giphy or stickers on Snapchat, that kind of thing?
Tell them the Giphy
Yeah,
steps.
so Texas A&M has a Giphy page where we do try to push some of this content. We have more than 2 billion views over there. So giphy.com/tamu. Again, I said this a little bit earlier. Social media is all about experimenting and trying new things as long as you have the bandwidth to do it as a team. So try those new things, try those niche platforms. We're also try to be really involved in Reddit. That's not a place where we post as much of these visuals, but it is a very important part of listening to what's going on campus, listening to your followers, and then see what's going on. So yeah, Giphy and all those other places, try them out if you can. If you can't, no worries. Do what you can as well as you can, and then worry about other stuff down the road. Hope that answers that question.
Absolutely, it does. We have a lot of thank yous coming in and a lot of great work notes. Nicholas says, as a photographer, I'm totally blown away by Sam's work and Nick's selections. Great work. Really nice. Everybody's saying thank you. Thank you to all of you for listening. You've been an amazing audience. The questions were fantastic. We hope all of you guys will come back and join us on November 19th. And feel free to head over to the Slack channel and continue the conversation. If we didn't get to your question, Sam's in there already. He has been in here the whole time, which is great, answering some questions in Slack. We can follow up there. There's the link to register for 2021 Vision. And here's the link to our Slack channel. This month, we are celebrating social pros all month long, and we have a new Slack channel specifically to talk about social media, just like this webinar. So we hope you guys will head over there and join that social pros Slack channel as well to talk about any lingering social media questions you might have. Nick and Sam, thank you so much for being here. That was fantastic. You knocked it out of the park.
It was a great time.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
We had fun.
Thanks
Anytime we can talk about Reveille, that's a good day.
It's a good day for all of us. Awesome. Well, thank you all for being here. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks and gig 'em.